When one thinks about adventure, they think of places like Egypt and the pyramids shrouded in mystery. And while it is fascinating, there's another place that's fascinating and full of mystery all its own. Join us as we have a look at some of the most awesome facts about Easter Island. The statues. Easter Island is also known by its native name Rapa Nui and is most famously known for the many large statues that reside on its island. These statues are known as the Moai and are believed to have been carved somewhere between 1250 CE and 1500 CE. While at first it appears that the statues only consist of giant heads, archaeologists have dug deeper down and actually discovered their bodies. These statues are incredibly tall, with the tallest one being 33 feet and weighing in at a staggering 82 tons. All of the statues feature huge heads that measure about 3/8 of the total size, and the heads have very easily recognizable facial features, with elongated noses, defined chins, rectangular ears, and deepened eye slits. The noses also have curls that resemble fishhooks and heavy brows. And out of the 887 that are known, there are 834 that are made from volcanic ash that's been compressed called tuff, and 17 were made from scoria, which is a fragile rock, 22 from trachyte, and 13 from basalt. Each statue features an average height of 13.1 feet, weighing somewhere around 12.5 tons. The name. Easter Island got its nickname from Jacob Roggeveen. He was one of the first European visitors that was recorded to have been on the island, first making landfall on April 5th of 1722. Now, that date is significant because that was Easter Sunday that year. That's how Jacob chose to describe it, and the nickname has stuck ever since. How the statues were moved. Now, nobody is quite sure how the statues on Easter Island were moved, given that they were transported 11 miles across the island without the use of any kind of wheels, or really any other means of transport that would have been available at the time. There have been several tests that were done by scientists, and most have concluded that if the islanders did use a combination of log rollers, ropes, and sledges, it would be possible. Then, in 2011, Terry Hunt at the University of Hawaii and Carl Lipp from California State University Long Beach would prove, along with National Geographic, that with only 18 people, they could actually move a 10-foot Moai replica, one that weighed 5 tons, a few hundred meters, using only ingenuity and 3 ropes that were strong. A theft of an ear. It was in 2008 when a tourist was found on the beach trying to remove an ear from one of the Moai. A native islander happened to see a man at the time running from the scene with a piece of the Moai in his hand. The islander reported it to police, who were then able to locate the man by the tattoos on his body. He would be placed under arrest and fined about $17,000 US. While this does seem like a lot, his punishment could have actually been much worse, because he was facing 7 years in jail. He issued a public apology with a Chilean newspaper, and as a consequence of his actions, there are now tight controls for tourist access. Islanders' toppled statues. Easter Island went through a very rough period where it faced devastation in terms of deforestation. The theory stands that islanders burned trees in order to clear off the land and make canoes to help serve their large population, and also perhaps to transport the Moai. In more recent theories, it's been suggested that the deforestation was due to Polynesian rats. These rats are believed to have first come to the island through canoes and ships. The island has its own language. Rongorongo is the official script of Easter Island. It's one of the few known scripts that was created with absolutely no influence from the outside world. Of the wooden tablets and staffs that were found with the Rongorongo carvings, only 26 of those would manage to survive. Even now, scientists have not been able to decipher the meaning of the language, and there were also several wood carvings that were unearthed, one being the Mokomiro, which is a man with a head of a lizard. The Rio Miro, which is a beast with a crescent shape featuring a head at one or both tips, and a few others that were unearthed, but there still doesn't seem to be any resolution as to what they depict and what the carvings are for. The island has a cult. In the 17th and 18th centuries, there were many issues with deforestation and overworking of the land, which depleted the natural resources. With this came many strong religious beliefs, and as a result of the issues that surrounded the land, the Birdman cult would emerge and play a large role in the beliefs that took over as the main religion. The inhabitants of the island ran a competition of sorts, which would help select a new Tangata Manu, or Birdman, every year. The position would entitle the winner to obtain a sacred status and gave them the ability to communicate with gods. Only the chiefs of the many groups on the island were permitted to compete, and they needed to find the first sooty tern egg of the year in order to win, which could be found on the Motu Nui. The chiefs, being the only ones able to win the title, did not personally make the perilous journey in order to get the eggs, which entailed going through shark-infested and turbulent waters. Instead, they would send a representative, also known as a hapu, on a raft made of reeds called a pora in order to find the egg for them. The person who was chosen as the representative would find a cave on the island and then wait for the egg to be laid. Once it was, the chief and all of the others would then hold a ceremony and perform ritualistic dances. Whoever would find the first egg would signal across to those on the island, and then based on which representative had found it, a new Birdman would be named. In order to attain the title, the hapu would have to return with the egg intact prior to the winner being officially crowned. The competition declined to exist around the 1860s, and that's when it's believed that Christian missionaries settled on the land. Other contributing factors to the ends of this religion were the islanders being kidnapped by Peruvians in order to do slave work in the mines, along with a breakout of smallpox that dwindled the population drastically down to just 111 people in the year 1877. The island has its own currency. Since Easter Island is part of Chile, it does use the currency of Chile, which is a Chilean peso. However, Easter Island also has its own currency as well. In 2008, coins were created, and in 2012, banknotes were made and named Rongo. The name is based off the Rongo language that's found on the island itself. Coins could not be used as ways to purchase things, because they're only meant to be souvenirs. However, the coins did have all of the features of legal tender. They feature the statues, the animals, and the people known for the island, among other notable things. In 2007, the coins were dedicated by Chile, and they featured a 3D effect, allowing the statue to be popped up to look like it was standing. Easter Island's weaponry. There are many native weapons to Easter Island, but they were very limited. Some known weapons were spears that were made out of obsidian, short clubs, and stones that were thrown. While it may not seem like much, they were used by skilled warriors. They could not use arrows because it's been speculated that they were improvised due to the lack of wood on the island. Instead, they would use slings that threw stones and were known to be very precise with their aim. Many of the traditions of the island also describe a net being used, and men were specially trained in order to wield them. It's unknown how they were created or what they actually look like, as the custom is long extinct and current natives don't know how to do it. Other weapons included the use of 2 spears, one which was about 6 feet long that they could throw, and a shorter one which was used for close combat. The spear could also be described as a missile, and it's said to have been thrusted into their enemies. There was also no set class of fighters or army of soldiers, but instead, anyone who was able-bodied was expected to be a warrior and face duty at wartime. No real training program was put into place, and it was said that they learned to throw stones and spears as a form of amusement, often being done at feasts. Clans were led to fight by their chief, but there was no set formation. Instead, those that fought acted on their own accord, or when necessary, on skill and strength. No shields have ever been found, and nothing was ever done to try and protect themselves against those that they fought with. The islanders did acknowledge one king, but due to many issues on the land, they had numerous wars with little relief. Tradition speaks of conflict that came about due to trivial issues, and they would go on through generations. In fact, it's said that they would go through the generations until one of the parties were entirely wiped out. Parties that were extinct would be pursued by the winners to their places of hiding, and then would be destroyed along with their habitat, capturing the women and children along the way. Those who were spared were then to become slaves and tortured, and it was also surprisingly said that when the party who was to be extinguished was captured or knew that they were close to losing, they would not put up a lot of resistance, including the women and children, and the ill, who knew that they were going to be murdered or enslaved, would not fight back. With little strategy in battle, it's always surprising to see how brutal the islanders could be, and how they managed to cause such great destruction with few variations of weapons.
Throughout our archaeological records, some historians have been unable to interpret or identify the origin of various artifacts, stories, and structures. Join us as we explore some of the most interesting unexplained mysteries from around the world. Mystery of the Wisconsin Giants. A 19th century archaeological study of burial grounds surrounding the city of Madison show that the state of Wisconsin might have produced something bigger than a few cheeseheads. August 10, 1890.